Hey everybody, today we're going to talk a little bit about the V&T Railroad, give you a little history and background. The railroad was founded in 1869 and it was started with the booming Comstock Lode. It was transporting ore and lumber and goods and passengers from Carson City to Virginia City and then later on to Reno. This train was also known as the Queen of the Short Lines because of its profitability and high standard for equipment and sources.
And I'm here to talk to you about the economic impact of the V&T Railroad. And it was the critical link that fueled the Nevada's mining economy during the Comstock boom. It connected mines and mills and major towns, making one of the most important railroads in the American West during the late 1800s. So the V&T Railroad was a big deal. I mean, we see it every day, and it goes between Virginia City and Carson City and stuff. But back in the late 1800s, it was like one of the most important railways around. By the 1870s, 1880s, the V&T was running like dozens of trains per day. They're moving silver and gold, of course, people. And then eventually, from Virginia City to Carson City, obviously, eventually to Reno. And then they ended up getting another branch that headed down south to Minden. So kind of this whole northern Nevada area where Lisa and I work out of is pretty much is where the railway was going. And of course, they made more elaborate passenger cars and much more beautiful, ornate locomotives. And many of them now restored and still running, actually. And it's really cool at the Nevada State Museum. You can go see some of the older ones. And of course, you can actually take rides on some of the restored ones. So still a big, important part of the Carson City heritage today.
As Josh said, this was a big part of Nevada and Carson City and Virginia City history, but eventually it did start to decline. It kind of dried up in the early 1900s as revenues just started to decline. We got a lot of competition with cars and trucking, and this really cut into the railroad business. The passenger service held on but finally ended about 1938, and then the railroad was completely abandoned or scrapped by about 1950. So one of my personal experiences is now, like Josh says, you can see a lot of this at the Railroad Museum, and you can see the trains still going through town, just like for historical markers. And you can go, they have the Polar Express once a year, and they use these old trains, and they're really cool to look at. And one Mother's Day, my boys took me, we got on the train, and we went from Carson City to Virginia City, and the windows were all open, and it's a very, very old train. And the conductor was narrating the whole way and talking about what was surrounding us and what it used to be like and what they were doing there. We got to Virginia City and they dropped us off, and we were there for about a couple hours, walked around, had some lunch, and then got back on the train and rode through the hills to come back to Carson City. It was a really spectacular afternoon. We really enjoyed that. The train itself, the ride, Virginia City, and just all the history that was involved in it.
Yeah, one of the cool bits of history about the V&T Railroad is it actually became a favorite of Hollywood studios. So back in like the 30s to the 1950s, Disney and MGM and Paramount, they used all of the V&T equipment because of all the cool engines that were being unused at that time. Of course, a lot of those movies are being shot in places, the movie was actually based in Carson City, and so it was helpful. But yeah, it's really cool that through the 70s and then into the 2000s, most of those locomotives have been rebuilt and restored. And so they're not a bunch that are running. And when you go to the museum, there's a huge warehouse full of all the old ones, but you can go view them all, walk through them, things like that. And but the cool thing now is that they actually operate today, and it's more of like for fun. It's not just to get around. But they have steam and diesel excursion trains, and you can do the Virginia City route, the Gold Hill route, and the one thing I wanted to talk about was the Polar Express, which is a big deal for my son growing up, and now my daughter who's 8 years old, and that's a really fun time. But yeah, so before I get to that though, but you can ride on these 19th century locomotives and you can take in the views, man, the Comstock Hills and the tunnels, the mining sites. It's really a cool historical attraction. So every year, for in December, they do the Polar Express, and I've learned that they do the Polar Express all over the country in different setups. Of course, ours is a little bit more special because these locomotives have these ornate, beautiful cars, and the experience is really kind of special. So when my children were really little, my son, I think we started going when he was about 5 or 6 years old, up until the time he was about 8 or 9. And my daughter, we've done it now, I think 3 years in a row, and this is going to be our fourth year. In fact, my son's graduating high school this year, and we're forcing him to go with us because it'll be his last experience to go with our daughter probably. So it's really cool though. The Polar Express, just like the movie, you get to see Santa Claus. They take you on a short ride up to see the North Pole, and they warm with wood heat, and there's like a whole crew of staff, and they pretend to be elves, and they sing and dance and tell stories, and you get hot cocoa and cookies, and it just kind of follows the whole movie experience. And honestly, it's one of the coolest things the kids get to do at the Christmas time. So we're really looking forward to it. We get to go in a few weeks right before Christmas, and yeah, it's just another little bonus that we have in this area, and we love being here.
So thank you for being with us. That was Josh Priu. I'm Lisa Williams. We're with the A team here at Berkshire Hathaway in Carson City. If you're ever thinking about coming over this way, give us a call. Be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll be talking with you again soon.